Welcome, Star Wars fans, all across the galaxy. This is Uneducated Star Wars Talk, brought to you by the Uneducated Network. I'm your host, Chris Lambert, and thanks for making me a part of your day. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that's very important to any story. Yeah, you can fall in love with some stories without being too attached to the characters, but characters are what drive us to be attached to stories. Today, I'm going to be giving y'all my top 5 favorite Star Wars characters, and these are, like I said, with my movie rankings, these are my personal favorites. The ones that affect me the most, and like I say, these are my personal favorites, not top 5 most important or top 5 all time or anything like that. Just my 5 personal favorite characters from the Star Wars universe. And at number 5, we got Mr. Will Huff Tarkin. And from the moment I've seen Tarkin, he was that creepy villain, and I always been attached to him. Even though we only got him in one movie, but Tarkin was that tough-skinned Imperial leader that Vader even had to listen to. And I was guessing that at that point in time that he was just a step below the Emperor along those times when I was younger. And like I say, just the villainous way he speaks with that British accent and everything, how he talked to Princess Leia. Tarkin was one of my favorite villains growing up and cracks my top 5. Also because of his novel entitled Tarkin, where you get a lot of his backstory, going into some of his childhood and stuff like that. And Tarkin's a real interesting guy. Check that book out if you haven't yet. But at number 5, that was Tarkin. Also made an appearance in the Clone Wars. In the Clone Wars, he was just great. And I'm not going to spoil things too much here. But check out the Clone Wars. Check out the Tarkin novel. And you won't be disappointed because Tarkin is one of my favorite characters. And let me know how you feel about Tarkin. Also, let me know in the comments your top 5 Star Wars characters. And let me know if you agree with my list, rather how you like it and stuff like that. But at number 4, I got our almighty Princess Leia, and she was my first movie crush, so she's going to be on this list. She was my first movie crush, and she was just a strong woman leader, not just woman leader, but she was just a strong leader of the rebellion. Even after watching her planet get blown up in episode 4, she's still leading the charge to take this Death Star out. She's not sitting there mourning or anything like Luke was doing behind Obi-Wan. Leia's comforting him, but in my mind, I'm like, man, this chick just lost a whole planet, and she's babyfying you. So all that comes into play. Even the progression with her and Han Solo's relationship and stuff like that. They bicker back and forth in episode 5. Like, I love all that. That was some of the best moments in Star Wars. And even through episode 7 and episode 8, Leia is still a big presence, still a big-time leader of the rebellion, turned resistance. And in a lot of her novels, we go in a little bit deeper into her head and see her do some investigative work on the First Order and stuff like that. So Leia at number 4, she's a great character. She will be missed. Hopefully she's in episode 9. Still don't know how they really gonna handle that, but more news coming out on episode 9 in a later video. But at number 3, I got my man Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader. You can look at them as 2 separate people, but for this video purposes, I'm gonna count them as one because technically they are the same man. And Anakin, just touching on Anakin, the prequels. Yeah, I know the prequels get a lot of hate, and I'll admit they're not the best movies and everything, but growing up, I was getting into my teen years around this time when episodes 2 and 3 were coming out. I felt for Anakin. Not really felt for him because I don't have that power and couldn't really relate to him, but I understood where he was coming from. And my biggest defense of some of the stuff I don't like with Anakin is the scenes with him and Padme. But my biggest sort of defense hey, he's growing up to be he's been becoming a Jedi, trying to be a Jedi Master, and on top of that, he's probably the most powerful Jedi, so he doesn't have time to interact with females and stuff like that. That's why his dialogue with Padme may come across a little awkward and weird and stuff like that. But the whole conflicted Anakin, him losing his mother, getting not taken away from his mother, but having to leave his mother behind from young, and then eventually having to watch her die in his arms. It's just all that. I feel for Anakin. I don't want to say relate because you can't possibly relate to him unless you're just the almighty powerful human being, I guess. But Anakin, like I said, you can feel for him watching his mother die, falling in love with Padme, having to keep that a secret and stuff. All that could be a bit stressful, and then seeing these nightmares about seeing your wife at that time die, that can be a bit stressful. And he goes to the ends of the earth, the ends of the galaxy, if you will, to make things right and try to save his wife's life. And that comes into Vader. And I really love Vader. Vader is probably one of the best villains in cinematic history, besides somebody else who's on my list. But really no buts. He is one of the best villains in cinematic history. And diving deeper into the novels and stuff like that, you see he's still that conflicted Anakin within, and that he's still struggling listening to the Emperor. He's still struggling forgetting his old self like that. I love all that because I love that character stuff because that you don't really see that in the well, you really kind of can see it in the mask when he's looking off into space, just staring off and stuff like that, and just having those close-up moments in the movies with Vader. So you can kind of see his conflictedness within the movies and stuff like that. But I love the direction the novel's been going, trying to show us what's going on under the mask with Vader, him and Palpatine's relationship and stuff like that. So at number 3 is Anakin Skywalker / Vader. It's a lot to say about that. Those two, and if you haven't, go back in the video history. I did a whole breakdown of Anakin Skywalker / Vader because they are one of my favorite characters. So you can check that out in the in the video history, if you will. But at number 2 is a guy who hasn't been in a movie, but is a big presence to me in Star Wars and really reflects a lot of things I like about not just Star Wars, but wars in general. I love the strategy of war. I'm not going to say, I've been struggling on a way of putting it because I don't want to say I love war and stuff like that, but I get real interested in the strategies of war and seeing about how commanders go about their tactics of war and stuff like that. So at number 2 is my man Thrawn. He's had plenty books, and in every one he's that ultimate strategist who also studies art, and that plays a big part in his military strategy, depending on who's he going against. So Thrawn is not a lot to say. I love Thrawn. That first Thrawn book, seeing everything he had to go through to get where he is as a Grand Admiral was pretty fulfilling in that book, and that's why I love that Thrawn book so much, because it touches on a little racism aspects in the Empire and stuff like that, and I just loved all that. Loved to see Thrawn have to go through all that. Even some of the older books, I haven't read all of the old Thrawn trilogy. I think I've read book 1 and some of 2, but I'm going to get back into those because I love Thrawn so much. And Rebels, to me, they kind of sort of misused him. Wanted to see him a little bit more threatening in Rebels, not just let him get letting the Ghost Crew get away as many times as they did. Wanted to see him actually get a victory, and he did in some episodes. Not gonna spoil them here. Go back and check Rebels. Go back and check my Rebel episode reviews, if you will, and you can see what episodes I'm talking about. But at number 2 is Thrawn, that ultimate military mind. And I just love the way he goes about his military tactics and stuff like that. That's why he's at number 2. His book also played a heavy influence on how high he is on my character list right now. But at number 1 is my man, like I said earlier, probably how I feel the best cinematic villain in movie history, and that is our man Chief Sidious Palpatine, whatever you want to call him. And I love Palpatine. He is, like I said, probably the best villain ever. And what makes him the best villain, not only does he win for 30 years, Thanos just won for I don't know how long, but Thanos not really on the Emperor's level to me. Some people are already calling him the best villain ever, but in my mind, it's Palpatine. He orchestrated not a flawless plan. It had a lot of flaws, and he improvised to work those flaws out. That got the apprentice that he needed in Anakin, took over the galaxy, eradicated the Jedi until he was ultimately betrayed by his apprentice, the way it should go with the Sith. And to me, Palpatine, just watching that journey through episode 1 through 6, although he's not in 4, but he is mentioned, and watching that journey in episodes 1 through 6 is pretty remarkable. Seeing a villain wait the way he had to wait, uh, manipulate people the way he had to manipulate them, get people to do the things, making sure everything turned out perfect. Even in the Clone Wars, he's getting his hands dirty and stuff like that, taking out, going to fight Maul and taking out Maul's brother, everything. Just how he talks to Dooku sometimes in the Clone Wars, just letting them know, like, hey, you can be taken out too, and everything. Like, Palpatine is one of my favorite villains ever, and that he's number one on my list because he's the Emperor, and I love watching all his scenes, not only in episode 6, but also in the prequels. Just Ewan McDermott did a fabulous job as the Emperor, even as just Senator Palpatine, because you just get to see him manipulating Anakin, and that's some of the best, not some of the best scenes in Star Wars, but I love those scenes. They aren't greatly directed, no, but they are giving insight to that Vader Palpatine relationship that get touched on a lot in the books and the comics. And that book, the Rule of Two, is some of the best Palpatine that we've ever got. And I really recommend that book, 'cause that is still one of my favorite Star Wars novels. And like I say, Palpatine, I can go on and on talking about Palpatine. Like I say, he is my favorite character. Been that way probably for a very long time, because at the scene in episode 6, I've seen that very young, and just watching him work his way with Luke and Vader, that was pretty dope, man. So at number 5, Tarkin. Number 4, Princess Leia. 3, Anakin/Vader. 2's my man Admiral Thrawn, and number 1 is our man Sheev Palpatine. That's my top 5 favorite characters in Star Wars. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it. Let me know your 5 favorite characters. Let me know your 5 most important characters who you feel. That might be the next list I do. But as always, keep it light right here at the Uneducated Network. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.